earthquakes can cause major inconveniences for people during their daily routines, delaying their buses for hours, their trains, and others. However, more serious earthquakes, although they are less frequent, they cause much worse damage, destroying infrastructure like bridges and tunnels, collapsing buildings, etc. And many people may die too. For example, in the current earthquakes in Syria and Turkey, mass destruction is happening. People are dying and infrastructure is being destroyed.
So an important part of infrastructure is bridges. They allow people to travel to important places such as work and school. Also, I know a few of my classmates that take the Verrazano Bridge to get to school. Unfortunately, many bridges today cannot withstand the force of earthquakes, so they either collapse or become unusable after a natural disaster. Also, because of the collapse, it takes a lot of money to repair them, which is something not every city or county has. Action plan, our brainstorm. So our plan is to improve bridge design so that bridges can withstand more violent earthquakes and still be able to carry on with traffic right after the natural disaster. This way, the people's daily routines will be less disrupted and there will be less casualties. So a bridge can be more resistant against these natural disasters by having a sturdy structure and strong base. And it's also important for the bridge to be flexible so it is more resistant and cannot as easily break.
So the available resources were popsicle sticks, glue, yarn/twine, cardboard, skewers, rulers, paper clips, and a pendulum. The limit had to be under $300 and also had to take up at most 12 square feet of space. Procedure for the bridge building was first we researched different elements of a bridge, and we also researched different types of bridges, such as suspension bridges, beam bridges, bridges like that. And then in the end, we decided on using suspension bridges for our experiment. Then we designed the bridges. So we did it on paper, we sketched it out, we labeled different parts, and then the only difference was the truss, the triangular truss. So the weights acted as pendulums, and they were hooked on with paper clips. A post-it was put underneath as a constraint for the swinging. The time that it took for the pendulum to stop swinging for each bridge were recorded.
We had the independent variable, which is the deck structure. One of them has a truss and the other doesn't. So the bridge with the truss deck, which is this red bridge over here, is the experimental group. And this yellow bridge without the truss deck, which only has the vertical columns for the superstructure, this is the control group. So our dependent variable is the swing time of the pendulums, which is over here, the weights suspended from the bridge. And our control variables are the bridge length, bridge height, and the materials used for each part because we had to use the same materials for each bridge. Also, the weight being put on each bridge had to be the same for each trial. So that was what we did. And also the length of the string to hold the pendulum, because they had to be the same length or else it would affect the data. So for our hypothesis, if the bridge's deck is changed to a truss, then the bridge's resistance against earthquakes will increase. Our hypothesis is if the bridge's deck is changed to a truss, then the bridge's resistance against earthquakes will increase because the triangular shape of the truss can withstand, absorb more energy and withstand the weight.
Well, I went to like get a marker and I draw stuff on it.
Oh wow, the red one like stops moving immediately.
Alright, the red one is almost done. The red one stops.
I think it's in a spot now, yeah.
Tell me when it's done.
He's done. He's done.
I think the yellow one's good. Okay. Yeah.
Alright.
It's good?
Yeah.
Alright, awesome.
This is the data we collected from swinging the pendulum. So in this table over here, we recorded the two bridges and the weights, as well as the swing time for each trial. So as you can see, the yellow bridge, which had no truss, had consistently longer swing time than the bridge with a truss. And this can be shown more visually in this bar graph over here. The x-axis is the weight for the pendulum, and the y-axis is the swing time. So other than the trend of the yellow bridge having longer swing times, there's also a trend of where as we increase the weight, the red bridge, the swing time of the red bridge doesn't increase as much. While as the weight increases, the yellow bridge's swing time grows by a lot. So for example, for trial 1, when we had 10 grams, the swing time for the yellow bridge was 11 seconds. But then as we multiplied the weight by 20 for 200 grams, it almost tripled in time. While for the red bridge, it only doubled. So the red bridge seems to have a dampening effect where it spreads out energy more efficiently than the yellow bridge.
Our conclusion is that the bridge with the truss absorbs more energy than the bridge without the truss. If we hold it here,
The pendulum now contains gravitational potential energy, so when you release it, it converts into kinetic energy.
Eventually, dear folks, the pendulum stops due to friction. The swing time for the truss bridge is less than the bridge without the truss, showing that the truss bridge is more stable and sturdy,
And also absorb more energy efficiently.
which in the real world, which would make your drive across a bridge more safer. Due to budget and time constraints, we weren't able to make the bridge the way that we wanted to make it. For future improvements, if we were to redo this project again, we could have simulated a more realistic earthquake using proper tools such as a shake table. A proper shake table would be able to demonstrate multi-directional movement from all different sides, which would test the bridges more precisely and realistically. To create the bridge, we could have used more durable materials instead of popsicle sticks. We could have used actual wood and steel. But however, even with all those limitations that we had, we were still able to show that bridges with truss are more stable and sturdier than bridges without truss. Even though truss designs are going to be more expensive, they are worth it in the long term for these long distance suspension bridges because they will improve the stability and the safety for all those who ride it.